But welcome everybody. Sorry if my throat's a little bit rusty. I've been sick with that new super flu for the last 2.5 weeks. Still a little bit off, but I'll bear with it. So today's webinar is in relation to policy procedure management in your system. So I've gone over this before, but if you're new and you haven't seen a presentation from the last policy and procedure, what is a policy? A policy really is a set of general guidelines, and they outline your organization plans to track certain issues. So really at the end of the day, it's what your employees can expect from the organization. It's what the company expects from your employees, like code of conduct and so forth, and also the customers and community that you might be doing. So really it highlights your commitment and your direction of what you're doing. So basically a good policy really needs to spell out clear and concise and simple language, nothing too difficult and so forth. Just put it in, common kind of sense. Now you can get some really good policies. You can source some great policies from HR Advanced. They do policies like that, or there's certain kind of companies and HR professionals that actually are consultants for our company that can actually help you. We have an association with HR Coach, and they have a range of HR resources with coaches right across Australia. So they can actually help you if you do need a particular policy developed for your particular company. But really at the end of the day, it explains the rule and basically easy. It needs to be accessible by all your staff. Hence why in the admin section, in the employees dashboard section, they have actually access to the employee register, which is pretty important. So so the difference between a policy and a procedure, well, the policy is the why, and literally the procedure is the how to follow it, what to do. So in the online WHS system, at the moment, the procedure kind of register is just an upload, download document. That'll probably change next year. But really, when it comes down to it, you should be using the checklist feature to build a procedure relating to any kind of process, because as you know, the checklist feature is a great feature. It relates to most registers inside the system. But one thing now with the new upgrade, you'll be able to see, which I'll go into later, you'll be able to see that basically the checklist feature has got all these different options. It's more than just the checklist feature now. It's probably arguably going to be the #1 feature inside the system. So basically you can build a procedure in using the checklist feature. So as mentioned, later on we'll be building a procedure builder inside the procedure builder once we actually get this safe form builder done in the next 4 months inside the system. So how do you use the system to actually do policies and procedures and educate your employees on all your different policies and procedures? Well, let's go to the policy register. There's a couple of different ways. I'm going to just select edit next to code of conduct. You can enter the policy name. You could, if you wanted to, copy and paste the policy inside here. You could if you want to. That's if you want to, say for an example, where an employee, instead of downloading a document, they can just select the view section in their register to actually view the policy. Totally up to you how you want to do that. I suggest you do both. Copy and paste it in there, and you're looking at, and then you would also upload that document as well, just so you've got that as reference. When you're actually copying and pasting, it's just literally going to the document, right click, copy, whatever it may be, and then coming here and then basically pasting that kind of document inside here. If I actually go, paste, it's going to ask you to actually clean up this Word document as in the format, because all Word documents are in this frame kind of format that you don't see. So unless you actually highlighted and want to see the frame. So you're going to select clean, and it's going to put it nice and neat how you actually, you copied it. So nice and kind of process, and then if you wanted to, you can change it, do whatever it may be that you want. If you've got a policy, usually the policy will be related to what's called the global site. I think everyone knows what the global site is. It's usually your company name and it's the site which is at the top of the tree of the hierarchical structure. Any documents related to that global site is seen through every single site, hence why a policy should be seen by everybody. But you might have a policy solely related to this site over here. You can just relate that policy to that site if you want to. Then these sites do not see that policy in the register. But most of the time you will be relating it to the global site, so everyone can actually see it and all your company values and so forth. You want to reset a review date, and if it's a good idea to set the review date in March. Part of the reason why is because we do the monthly webinars, and in the month of March is policies and procedures. So it's kind of, each year you're reviewing your policy that you've got in place. It mightn't change. It mightn't change at all. But there might have been, say, for an example, an incident relating to code of conduct, for an example. So you might go, okay, our policy actually doesn't highlight that there. So we need to update this to make this more relevant to, for an example, something. So therefore, you can actually, again, put out your objectives and all that kind of stuff. So, and you can upload your document here. Now, the person here for the review is literally the person who's to review this document. It'll put it into the person's to-do list and then bring it up to that date when that date comes around. It will not email alert them if they've actually just been responsible there. If you want them to be alerted, you would actually come here to the manage alert, come down to the policy, add employee to whatever it may be, select policy and select the global site and select the people responsible, or depends on if there was a policy related to another site, you might relate it to another site. Again, totally up to you. When you actually can set an email alert to go out to someone, as you know, you can actually select one person, but if you hold down the control button, you would actually can select more than one person. Set the review date as 1, because 0, it hasn't expired on the day, it's the next day. So, it's a good idea for you to set those kind of policies up in, the review date in March, because it kind of fits into the webinars that I actually do for each month and so forth. And you should be doing that kind of thing for each webinar, setting up, whether it be, like, for example, chemicals, or that's the review of chemicals, not the safety data sheet, but you're looking at stuff like that, so you can actually keep on continually improving by attending the webinars and then actually updating your system at the same time. So let's go to the procedure register. Again, this is just upload, download feature at the moment. So later on, we'll be building this, that you can actually build a procedure, but that is going to be next year. So we've got some other goodies coming inside the system before that, which are far more important, and that will actually enhance the system's use and the end user. So with these policies and procedures, you can do a couple of things. Yes, you could actually use the checklist builder to actually build a checklist relating to a certain policy, because as you know, the checklist feature relates to all these different items throughout the system. But you can actually select code of conduct and build a checklist. Have you read the code of conduct? Do you understand this? Because if you actually select open on the employee, when they select their name and they complete this, it'll save it not only just in the checklist feature, not only against the policy and everything else that you've related it to, but it'll also save it in the employee's history to show that they've actually done a checklist relating to accepting that policy. So you can use the checklist feature to do so, or you can do it, what you should be doing is basically building it as an induction in the induction register. This is one I previously put in there. So if I select edit, you can put your title, but again, you could copy and paste. You might break that policy up into different areas. You might want to actually build an induction, not just for code of conduct. You might want to build your whole company's policies in one kind of, an induction. Totally up to you if you want to do it like that. But I would say, depending on what kind of business you're in, you would kind of build an individual one, or a group of your core kind of policies, and then overall ones, depending on, it might relate to certain positions or certain kind of sites. You could do that and relate it to the people necessary to do so. So you can just a simple question, yes box, tick, And basically, at the end of the day, as you know, you can actually come to the induction section matrix. We've got the new mass induction. So you could actually, filter it for a site. You can filter for a position. You can filter for a qualification or permission level. And then you just go apply filter. It'll bring up all those appropriate, depending on the filter you've selected. You select it all over there, and then you can actually say, yeah, I want that person to do the code of conduct policy and follow that. Just watch the induction kind of video, but really you're going, just putting a due date, load details. It's going to say highlight, do you want to actually assign these people to this induction? Yes. Then you get choice, do you want to send it out by email or just put it in their to-do list? So this upgrade's gone into the system. You would have seen that from our last kind of webinar. It has been a good feature, but you should be using this to induct your employees into your policies and your procedures. A policy is useless if it's just in the system and your employees don't know anything about it. That's why I say, for an example, just having some of these policies and documents and folders like people used to have, instead of having an online system, were a waste of time, because there's no way your employees are going to read it. Whereas here, at least you can actually build it inside the system, build it as an induction, and then assign it out to all your employees, and it's going to keep a record of that. Remembering in the induction matrix, it's going to highlight that it's in here, but if I actually go to the employee register and I select, say, for an example, view next to my name, I can go view history. It's going to highlight every induction that I've actually done. So this is keeping a record. Obviously, I've done a lot of chain of responsibility. So it's, but you're looking at, this is where all your inductions are kept. If you did happen to build it as a checklist as well, depending on what kind of policy it is or procedure, it actually will save it here. That's if you open the employee field and they select their name. So then it'll actually save it into this. It won't save it in there if it's just scanned on a QR code. It doesn't know who the person is. So it's so just a little bit of a heads up on that. So yeah, so you're looking at, they're very important. Obviously, they're going to state your commitment to a certain kind of process and with all these different things. It's something that you really need to have in place to protect your business, especially if something happens and you haven't got any policies and procedures in place. It could come back to affect you and make a claim, and which you can't kind of protect because you haven't got a policy and procedure into that process. So where do you start with your policies and procedures? Just look at your activities, look at your plant and equipment items, and look at your chemicals, and look at your sites and your management of your employees. I say that literally to every single kind of subject, because when it comes down to it, your risks are coming from these areas here, your employees, your contractors, and your sites. So from those kind of areas there, you can actually then develop your policies and procedures. If you wanted to, I did mention this last time, you can actually come down here to this formula that I created when I was creating the system, but this is a new step-by-step guide. So it's a great way for you to get your system up to date. If you want a bit, like, say, for example, go through, I want to make sure that I've got everything in place. So it's so what you're doing there is literally going through here, but you can see you're entering data, which you've already got all your data inside the system, but then you can actually identify what needs to be done, the hazards, emergency procedures, etc., responsibilities. Then after that, you're going to develop your policies, procedures, and then you develop your checklists and your inductions and so forth, so you conduct it. So really the process is here anyway. So if you actually select on that, this will be, say for an example, a 10-minute video on what is a policy procedure, just like we've done today, but then it'll take you step by step on all the processes of what you should be doing with the policy. And then you can move to the next step, and next step, and next step. So it's a good refresher for you to actually go down there and do that. So it's not much more I can actually say on policies and procedures other than, yes, you're going to have them inside the system. You are going to review them. Let's just say, for an example, you had an incident relating to a certain kind of process, code of conduct. You would definitely review your policies then and update it, remembering it's a good idea. Again, then you would actually re-induct everybody into that new policy inside the system. but the system will actually keep a log of every single time you've actually updated and changed it. Now, the employee, when they log into the system, so they have access to a policy all the time, that's why the policy register is here. They can't edit a policy. They can only select view or the download kind of document there. You can actually make it that they, if they're viewing a certain policy, remembering they don't see these other icons, if I'm logged in as an employee permission level, they can actually select add signed document. You could, if you wanted to, also get them to complete that form to say it's their name. We are putting a signature box there at a later date, but you're looking at, you could do it like that, but the induction kind of process, doing it by the induction builder is probably sufficient to do it by that. All right, let me go on to some of the new features inside the system, which are pretty exciting. So you're looking at one of the big kind of features in the system is obviously the checklist builder. The checklist builder is the most used feature inside the system. And what we've actually done is we've decided to take it to the next level. So if I select edit, and we'll see some of the changes, one thing you might notice is the new look. So Michael's done a great job in making this look nice and neat, but it has some other features as well. So if I add a line, add item, that's how you add a new line. Used to be the text box that you can actually text straight in there, but since it does so many different things and has the flexibility, what you do is you select edit item. This is the big change. Previously, you could actually have it as a heading, question, or text box. Now you can have it a heading, question, text box, check boxes, radio button, and exciting, which I'm excited about this feature, a drop-down list. So you can literally create a drop-down list for quality standards and do it like that. Totally up to you. So when you're looking at that, basically, let's go edit item, I'm going to create a drop-down list. So this is basically the actual question text box as normal, the question that you want to ask or whatever it may be. But you've also got this subtext. So this subtext is literally how to complete this one there. And then you can actually put your options inside here. So I can actually go add option. So you can create a list. It doesn't have to be numbers. You might even make a text, excellent, poor, whatever it may be that you want. So technically you can build a survey in this system now by using this drop-down list. This is a big change as well. Previously, you can actually select it that if they select no, that it brings up the action hazard or maintenance box. Well, now you have the ability to add those boxes. So I'm going to just select those two, and you can make it required now. Previously, you couldn't. Submit. Save changes. So see how it's add the action box, and it's added that box there where I can upload a photo. Whereas previously, this was always in every single question. And basically, it was the option, if you select no, it brings up an action hazard or maintenance. So now you can actually build your own checklist with whatever it may be that you want. Let's build another one, add another item. I'm going to select add item. I'm actually going to make this a question, the same as previously. You got the question item. Again, you can enter subtext, whatever it may be. And you can actually now, the difference, whereas before, if you selected no, it brought up an action hazard or maintenance. You can actually make it, if they select yes, totally have to go flexible. But if I select no, and then you know what, I want them to only add an action. No, but I'm gonna put all the features there that they can actually add them all. Action hazards, maintenance, non-skip. We are going to expand that terminology so it actually highlights that, but it'll be in the helper anyway. You can actually do it if they select no, they can actually skip. But these are the kind of things, either select them or don't select them. It's the best way. Submit. It's actually created those items. So let's now, I'm going to update that, and I'm going to select view so you can see the new kind of feature, the new look. It looks nice and neat, and Michael's designed it so it looks really, really good on the mobile phone. So hence why these buttons are over here. So it's he's made nice different colors so that they're distinguished from each other, but the person can select yes there, and then they can add an action or whatever it may be. So I shouldn't have selected that because they're just about to fix up this little bug, hence why it hasn't gone live soon, where in testing we noticed that when you actually select action, it doesn't, you know, if I want to cancel this, it won't come down, but that's, the boys are actually on that, should be fixed up, or if not, it's already probably fixed up on the staging server, development server, before it comes up on the staging server for testing. So other kind of things. So well, let's go down to that drop down box. So you've got the drop down box here. Now I can actually rate a score. Beauty about that, remembering you can actually export this Excel spreadsheet, this checklist into an Excel spreadsheet. So technically, you can actually build a survey with all their answers. Again, as I mentioned, you don't have to actually make that just numbers. You can make it text if you wanted to. It's a great thing for quality standards there. So it with the tick boxes, which is a great feature because you can actually select more than one tick box. So I can actually select all the damage, take a photo, add maintenance. And then sign on screen, you can add the multiple signatures as mentioned, submit. Let's select the view button. I'm going to select toggle information. I'm going to the log. Does it what it normally does, or all the basic fundamentals that it did before are still there. But you're looking at, see how it's actually handled, put those there. So it's put the score, done all those different things. So great feature, good way to do it. It with the export of the checklist, some of those ones aren't in there at the moment where you can export it, but they will be very shortly. So it'd be a great way for you to export things, see all the answers, filter that Excel spreadsheet. I'm sure if you, like say for example, have seen the new feature inside Excel where you can actually, I'll just go update. And what you would do here, you would literally just sort data, and then you might get rid of a lot of the items that you don't want to report on, and then basically you can actually just go analyze data. When you analyze data, it will actually create all these reports for you. So a good little feature that Excel spreadsheets have actually now. So it's even though we are building this new report section inside the system by the end of the year. So let's get to the other red feature, which is going into the system this week, which is the corporate risk register. So different than hazard risk, this is corporate risks. So I'll just select edit next to this one here. You can put a risk title and sub-risk title. You've got all these different categories of corporate risk. So operational risk, it was already preloaded one. It might be reputational risk, and you've got those processes there. So I've preloaded a lot of ones that will actually mean something, but you can actually add or minus some of these risk categories inside here, and also add subcategories. So if you're a company that has to meet chain of responsibility laws, the risk category would be chain of responsibility. The sub-risk categories might be, load restraint, driver fatigue, unloading, loading vehicles, that kind of stuff, as subcategories relating to, the heavy vehicles, chain of responsibility kind of categories. You can put your objectives there. This is the big feature. You might be saying that is one very ugly looking matrix. And the reason why it's like that is because you can, over the years, been sick of people going, I don't use that matrix, I use this matrix. So with this here, you can go edit, and you can actually build your own matrix, even change the wording. You can even change the color. I can change the risk rating. Every process I can actually change there to build my own purpose-built risk matrix to a risk category that I've actually created. Very powerful feature. You can even insert rows and insert columns. And that literally you can go through there. Any single time you hit this, see this green plus sign, red minus sign, you can add to what's the preloaded items that are there already. These are the people responsible as the team, and it'll actually go into the register as red. Now, there's no actions there done yet, but if I select, for example, select control, because I want to add control measures, each risk has its own control feature. Each risk has its own control register. So you're looking at, basically at the end of the day, I can go add new control, has all the details already here. I can go through. You can add the control title. Again, you've got the green plus sign, red minus sign to add things and categories that you want to do. But your initial rating was severe. The new rating might be medium, but with this control measure and the other control measures, the overall rating is not applicable. Update. So the good thing about that is what you're trying to do then is literally get that register to go down. The boys are just updating this section here, so to put the assess date and the review date, because obviously, let's just say, for example, if the risk was weather and the control measures didn't work, well, technically you should be going back there, reviewing that process, and then adding some more control measures. So you can actually see when your previous ones were actually developed compared to when your new ones have actually been done and so forth. It will just show continual improvement as well. Another kind of feature of this register is this new process. So these are the actions that I've actually set for implementing those control measures. So it works very similar to a hazard kind of process. You develop your control measures, and then you set actions up. You'll email alert the person, put it into the action register, put it in their to-do list. But it highlights that there's been 8 actions made to this risk factor, but there's 2 outstanding. I can select it and see who's actually hasn't done it, and then chase them up and say, hey, Mary, why haven't you actually done those control measures or those actions and implemented those control measures? So you'll see it will not go green inside your register until all your actions are completed. Something that we're going to be building into the incident section and the hazard section in future upgrades. So it's just a great way for you to log into the system. If you know it's green, you know everything's up to date. If it's orange, that means all the actions haven't been implemented. So if it's red, you haven't set any actions or developed any control measures inside the system. And then if I actually come to the view section and go generate PDF report, so we've actually just purchased this new PDF report builder. You'll see that over the coming months, the generated PDFs inside our system are going to look far more professional and generate a very, very nice corporate looking report, instead of, say, for example, at the moment, yes, they look okay, but they're not up to the standards that we want. So you'll see that there's been going to be a big change to a lot of your PDFs throughout the system, exporting stuff. But you also got, say, for example, the new report builder that we're actually purchasing to sit on top of the system, like the WHS Helper, where you'll be able to generate your own reports and on a monthly basis and automatically make them generate and send them off to wherever it may be that you want them to do. I hope you, actually it was good. I didn't actually have one cough throughout that entire process, which is pretty good. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to send me an email. Thanks for your time. I did record this. I will be pushing this up into the help section and the helpful resources and so forth. But again, you might want to watch the continual improvement webinar, which kind of goes over all those processes that I did then. It's a great way for you to actually it'll constantly actually help you use the system in a manner which I kind of intended people to actually use it. Well, I hope you can beat the avoid the virus, because you definitely don't want to get it. So because it has made me very, very sick, and I'm very, very rarely sick. And hope everyone's nice and safe and dry. So take care, and I'll speak next month. Bye.